Good, I can hear you now.
Um, Good day, everybody. We apologize for the delay any longer. We have with us a fantastic serial entrepreneur, a strategist in the world of the hospitality business. Is based thanks to the powerful tool of technology today. We are discussing all the way live and direct from the USA. I'm here in Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria, and Abena. We're quite pleased to have you on today's edition of Technology Times Live, where we look at the intersection between technology as a driver of business. And today we're focusing on the business of travel and tourism and the kind of insights that we will be bringing to bear in how technology is helping to change the state of play, in how technology is driving that business across West Africa, particularly Nigeria. So what I will do is I'll first of all start that question with you, Abina. First, tell us where you're talking from and tell us this passion for the travel and tourism business. Where did it start? How did it start? And where is it taking you to? Thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you, Sheena, and good morning to you, and good morning to all your team at Technology Times. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Ghana, especially. I'm from Ghana and born, raised in Ghana. And Sheena, as you said, where we come from in West Africa, and especially I think it's with Africans, right? We grew up wanting to be doctors and lawyers and all kinds of stuff. I remember when I told my parents that I was working in the hotel industry, they didn't think it was a glorious kind of thing because we didn't have a lot of knowledge when we were growing up. So we thought everything has to be, the ones that we go to school for 10 years for. But then I relocated to the United States 2003, and that was right after my undergrad in Ghana. And I was looking at other things I could do while I was here. I got a job working at the hotel as a front desk agent. And at first I was thinking to myself, okay, what is really about this? But when you come to the United States, you are opened to all kinds of possibilities and opportunities. And I'll do some research and find out that the travel industry is huge. When I say huge, I mean mega. It creates trillions of dollars. And there are people who were working then as sales managers who probably made more than doctors made. And I thought to myself, why go to school for 16 years when you could make that same income in a year or two? So it just kind of spawned my interest. And to be honest with you, the immeasurable depth of meeting different people every day, you meeting CEOs, I cannot even tell you some of the big people in the world that I've actually gotten to meet because they stayed at a hotel or we had to work with their execs and other team members just to be able to host them. It's an experience that nobody could take from you. It's rich. It is very rich. You have access. You get to hear people's perspective of things. You meet travelers. You're meeting about, I'll say, 100 people a day. It can be overwhelming, but that's really what spawned my interest. And I think sometime in 2014, I decided to go into the consultant part of it, working with hotel management companies, asset managers, investors, and other people who want to build and develop hotels in the industry per se, hospitality per se. And it has been a blessing, I would say. It's been a really great blessing to be able to do what I do. You and I connected some time, and I know we've never really gotten to talk a lot about business. And a few months ago, you were like, hey, you have to share your knowledge. And it's truly an honor, I have to say, to be an African and to be able to work in certain areas that it's not very popular, especially in Africa. But now with the world coming to, to forefront thanks to COVID. And I say thanks to COVID because there were a lot of capabilities that we had that we did not know. COVID literally halted the world. And then through technology, brought the world closer. I don't know of any occurrence that can do that, right? Now, because of technology, you and I are talking. I mean, you're thousands and thousands of miles away in Nigeria. I'm here. I'm based in the Washington, D.C. area, and I'm still talking to you live. And that to me is the greatest blessing of all, some of the things that came out of COVID. So yeah, just a little bit about myself. I'm not gonna go into the debate of Ghana Jollof. I think Sheena. So Sheena, just a little about myself and a little intro.
Thank you very much for that quite insightful intro. I will come back to the Nigeria versus Ghana Jollof unending match. But before we come to that, let's delve into today's business, which is the business of travel and tourism. The COVID pandemic did hit that business sector. And before we come to that, can you just give us some insight into you talked about how big an industry this is. Take us through this and take us to that journey of understanding your industry.
Sure. So, travel and tourism, they're intertwined. However, it's two different focus, right? You and I travel every day. You wake up every morning, you drive from home to work. You probably drive to visit your family, your friends, and other things. So, travel really is the act. But tourism, on the other hand, is the when you get excited about immersing yourself in the experience. And now more than ever, people are traveling not just for travel. It used to be prior to COVID, we travel for work. You're there for Monday to Tuesday, Monday to Thursday, you're out of the area. But now people go to places and they want to explore. So it used to be that people wait for vacations, right? We'll wait for summer to take travel vacations. That's the kind of travel we want to experience. That's I'm going to tour a place. However, now even with business travel coming back, you are traveling not just for traveling, you're there to work, and then you're also there to experience the culture, engage with people, understand and know different areas, different places, learn different things. And people have started creating all kinds of trends after COVID, especially. So travel is just the act of it, but tourism is the experience and immersing yourself in the experience. Now, I read an article actually from JP Morgan this June, and they were looking at the World Travel and Tourism Council, the forecast that they were making. The travel and tourism sector was set to reach about 9.5 trillion in 2023. I don't know how many industries, leisure industries that can create that kind of revenue. And I was looking at some statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria. And then the travel and tourism industry actually contributes about 34% of your country's GDP and account for 20% of employment in the country. That's in Nigeria. And that's really big. That's really big. I think we don't realize it, but sometimes when we talk about travel, people just focus on the airlines, right? And they think about hotels, but you have restaurants, you have arts, you have culture, you have all kinds of experiences. You also have the parks and all these other things that will come into play. And COVID did a really brutal number. There was actually an article, and I'm looking for it here on my stuff, thanks to technology, right? You can just search and voice search and other things. It was by the the United Nations World Travel Organization, UNWTO. When COVID hit, about 54% of the workforce that was contributed by travel was the one that was mostly impacted. So imagine in an industry that's contributing, especially 54% to the general stuff. I mean, take the other main businesses out. Everything else really left is travel and tourism, you know? And that industry was the one that was hit the greatest. I think Africa opened up a little more faster, but here in the US, things were still a little bit slower in opening. And because they wanted to make sure everybody was vaccinated, everyone was safe. But the travel industry in the US took quite a while to bounce back. Now, it has seen a tremendous growth. I think as of right now, we about 5%, below the levels of 2019, the kind of stuff that we had, kind of business, kind of demand, we call it demand, and the push that we had. However, most of the majority of the travel right now is going outside the United States. It's going abroad, right? People want to move to that area. They want to visit. They want to experience things. And I can imagine after being stuck in your own home for 2 to 3 years, you just want to get out. You want to get out. Domestic travel has been heavily impacted in the US because a lot of companies are now into hybrid positions. They're not working and traveling as much. And most of the travel in the domestic US was really contributed highly by business travel, people traveling for business. You have the government that has still not even fully opened, and people are still not back in the office functioning. So that is still impacting it. But for us to see even tremendous growth in some US major market, Washington, DC is doing well in terms of the growth. Other markets are still struggling a little bit. However, the most travel projected is going to Europe, believe it or not. I was looking at this statistics on World Data Info, right? Just trying to see which cities or which countries per se that are experiencing or enjoying the new demand, especially this summer with all the travel that happened. Nigeria was ranked 53 out of 56 top countries in the world that were experiencing great travel. And that is great to know. However, South Africa was number 31. So in terms of West Africa, we are still behind in attracting the kind of travelers that we need to our continent. We have to do better. We have to do better. And I'm hoping that by the end of this conversation, we can quickly just hit on a couple of things that we can do to attract the right business. The travel industry is a huge boost for Africa as a whole. And I don't know any continent apart from Africa that has very diverse culture, rich culture, different styles, arts, history, right? There's never a boring time growing up in Africa. There's always something to learn. You have the beautiful beaches, islands, parks. And anytime I talk to people, what they know about Africa, the first thing they tell me, oh, safari. Everyone thinks there are jungles everywhere. And I'm thinking, no, there are a lot more. There are a lot more than safaris. So for people who don't want the safaris, they're not going to Africa. If they want to experience safaris, they're going to Africa. And I'm thinking, wow, we haven't done a great job at all, Sheena. And we have a lot of work to do.
Thank you very much. thank you also for the prep about not having done a great job, and that's why we're having this conversation today. What are those steps that we need to start taking to start doing a better job of unlocking the human across West Africa and particularly in Nigeria?
So thank you for that. How do I our initiatives, our ideas? Now, every corner of Africa, you might find a chop bar. You know, Ghana, we call it chop bar, right? Where you can find a corner restaurant and stuff. Those indigenous meals and people who make them, it's genius. But we haven't done a good job in terms of packaging it. And don't get me wrong, I see a lot coming out of Africa, a lot of thanks to social media. We read a lot about all the beautiful things that have been done. But it looks like sometimes we are working in silos. Here in America, we have a lot of institutions and systems, right? That standardizes the process for everybody. If you are operating a hotel, and I could just get up and put up my guest house, well, there's certain regulations and other things in place. You can do that here. There are things in place that has to be accomplished or has to be executed. So we are all operating at the same level of impact. And that is why I would say most Westerners are very comfortable staying at certain chain hotels like Marriott, Hilton, and all these stuff because they expect to have the same services. Now, the good news for Africa is that these chains are actually coming into Africa now. If you look at the pipeline, even for Marriott, it's projecting about 10,000 plus room nights in Nigeria, rooms to be in the pipeline, to be projected by 2026 beyond. So there is a lot that is happening, systems and processes in place. I want to look at a couple of things here. Let's look at some business insight. We have to set a defined market. And what do I mean by that? To be able to market to a person or do any kind of marketing, you have to know who you're marketing to. And marketing and selling are two different strategies, right? You have to know who you're selling to. Am I selling to my local people? Am I selling to my international community? Am I selling to the business community? Am I marketing or selling to the government community? And until we establish that, it's going to be a little difficult for us to start zoning in on where to market. And I'll bring it back to our world here in the United States. The tourism market is very well defined. The travel market is defined, vacations and all this stuff. That's it. And then you have companies like, Fortune 100, 500 companies that actually contract to travel for business as well. And then you have the government agencies that are also traveling. I don't know how effective that is currently in Nigeria per se, but one of the business insight I think people need to start doing, anybody who is operating in the travel industry, come together and start defining your market. Who are we selling to? Who are these people? How do we market to the government? How do we market to the international community? How do we market to the business community? And how do we attract vacationers and leisure travelers? When you have defined that, then the next thing is to deploy an effective marketing strategy. And that will take us a whole day today to discuss that. Effective marketing and sales strategy, from your website to all kinds of data, other things that you need to do. Then you also have to work on your customer services. We have to. I don't know many people that show as much honor as Africans. We are that hospitable. We have a lot of honor. We respect people. We have integrity. And all these things need to show in our marketing strategies. Our customer service is key, front and center. That we have to, the same way we honor our people, we should be able to honor people who also come to visit our country. The other thing that we have to invest in, so I've touched on one, certain defined market, two, effective marketing and sales strategy, three, customer service. The fourth business insight I want to touch on is safety and security. I have to be honest with you, Sheena. The world does not help. Internet is not helping with all the bad news and stuff that comes out of Africa. And I kid you not, I don't know any country or city that doesn't have any bad news there. Okay. I remember the first time my mother visited the United States. That was 2000 and I think 4 back then. And she had not seen, she could not believe that we had burgers on the street here, even here in DC. She was so shocked. She said, wait, this is America. I said, I know. But just as there's something in every country. Here in Washington, D.C., I kid you not, if you turn on the news every morning, there's a shooting. There is something that is happening. But we are able to overshadow that with all the good stuff. And that is what we need to focus on, because we need to start projecting the good things that come from Africa. It seems like every little bad thing, bad news, and it deters the whole world from coming there. So we have to invest in our safety and security. Just imagine somebody travels and has a medical emergency, and that happens a lot. People get sick on the plane, they get to a foreign land, and something happens. People have all kinds of underlying medical conditions that would just happen in another land, whether it's the long flight, it's whatever it's happening. But then do we have the infrastructure to help these people, right? We also have to look at crime and losses as part of safety. How do we provide that kind of safety for the travelers that are coming into Nigeria? Accessibility. So the Americans have something called ADA, that is the American Disability Act. I say this with all the love in me, but growing up in Africa and in Ghana per se, I saw a lot of disabled people. And when you look at disability in Ghana, it feels like they can't accomplish anything with their lives. It is sad. It is sad. We have come into an era where people, no matter race, whatever your limitation is, you should be able to function as the other person, have the same opportunities. Now, how do we react to disability in Africa? Do we have accessibility? Accessibility, are we even wheelchair accessible? And I have a family member here who has a son who is disabled, and he's been dying to go to Africa. And I would I used to, prep him and pump him up like, oh, this Africa is this and that. And one day he asked me, he said, what am I going to be doing in Africa? And I said, what do you mean? That's where your parents are from, you know, and you're going to see great things. And then he reminded me, he's like, how do I move my wheelchair, my scooter around? And then I started thinking about all the challenges that he possibly might face just moving around. And we were all looking at each other like we didn't know what answer to give him. But we have come very far. Certain things can be maneuvered around the airports and other things, I get it. But once they come out of the airports in the normal areas, restaurants, right? Attraction places, are these accessible? And the Disability Act, from there, they were talking about how much disabled people have almost billions of money to spend because they really don't go anywhere. And we haven't done a great job even investing in that market. So I bring that back to say, Africa, we have a lot of work to do to make our systems, our processes, our railways, our everything, our driving, our roads, everything much more accessible and friendlier to disabled people. Communication is also very, very key. And thank goodness, I was looking on Google Translate for Nigeria. You have Igbo on there, you have Yoruba on there, you have Hausa on there, and we have to find a better way to communicate. When people come into your country, who are they communicating with? Everybody does not understand the language. I think most people in West Africa, as in Nigeria, Ghana, for instance, English is our official language and a way of conducting business, so it's a little easier. And that is why you have a clear advantage. You have such a huge advantage because of the English. We speak English there, right? The British English. And we are able to communicate more faster than the other countries who have maybe French or other things, and not a lot of people who will be traveling, especially from this side of the world, speak French. We also have to look into the investment of trusted aid. When people are traveling thousands of miles away from home, there is always this fear factor. No matter how brave and strong they are, you're charting a land you do not know, uncertainty. And so we have to be able to provide aid. When we say aid, AIDE, a service, a helper. And that's some of the things that these tourist attractions or hotels and other things have to look into. Sometimes we call it the buddy system. So I do work with a program that's called International Visitors and Learning Program that's run by the State Department here in the USA. So when they have groups of people from different countries, multiple countries that are coming, and they, based on the client I'm working with, the client might be the hotel client I'll be working with, they might be in that contract. And I noticed how the department would actually have an aid, language translator, all kinds of people for that group. It could be a group of 6 or 7 people, but they have all these people with them to help them maneuver the country, maneuver through their travel and everything. And it's beautiful to see. And these are some of the things that we can implement in Africa to make sure that the people that are coming, especially if you have enforcement, the police, how involved are they? Do we involve them in decisions when it comes to travel, it comes to tourists? How are we doing in Nigeria? I would love to know, at some point. But these are conversations to have. I think safety and security is top front for every traveler that is going outside of their home, outside of their country, and outside of their region. So quickly, just a recap on the business side. We have the set defined market, effective marketing and sales strategy, customer services, safety and security. And on the safety and security, we have to look at medical emergencies. We have to look at crime and losses, accessibility, communication, trusted aid, and law enforcement. I would like to go to the other aspects, which I think we have a lot more to do with you, Sheena, as well, which is using technology. Yeah. So there's a trend that came about during COVID. A lot of people, it seemed to be like the only way we could communicate with the world. It was the only way that we could actually feel that we are not completely hidden or lost or stuck up somewhere in our basement. Now, these technological items and devices and experiences and innovations have actually been a blessing, right? If it were not for them, we really would not have gotten back on track as quick as we did. The hotel industry, the travel industry, restaurants, art, culture, all of them, tourist attractions, hotels, airlines, everyone now is investing into artificial intelligence. You are investing into a lot of tech in tourism marketing because it's an effective way to use existing data to build customer profiles and behaviors. If I can understand the buying pattern of a traveler and I can understand like what they're looking for before they even get to my country, I can customize the experience for them to make sure that they have exactly what they're expecting to accomplish. It doesn't take a lot to make people happy. If you could just let the traveler know, I heard you, I saw you, I saw your request, I know what you're looking for, and deliver what they're looking for, they will go back and think this is the awesomest vacation they've ever had. AI is key. With AI, we're able to do voice searches, right? Now I could just talk to my phone, especially those of us with bad habits. You're driving and you're still trying to do 20,000 things at the same time. So thank God for Alexa and Siri and Google Voice and hey Google, hey this, hey that. They can do all the work for us. Isn't that amazing? I was sitting here, I have a 6-year-old and he likes a Monster Jam. And yesterday I was like, Alexa, where can I go see the next Monster Jam event? And Alexa was able to tell me location, wherever it's happening, and all that kind of stuff. I was like, look at that, look at that, look at that. Yeah. And then also voice control devices. This is the power of technology. Now, I don't know about you, but I used to be very concerned how fast technology was. Every time I woke up in the morning, there was a new device, there was a new thing, and I couldn't keep up. But because we have a little bit of an old school mentality, right? We're still who we are sometimes at the core. But I said, you either keep up or you're going to be wiped out completely. And with what I do for a living, you have to understand these things. You have to know how it works, because this is what we use in our career, in our businesses, and what we do. Now, voice control devices have become very popular, even in hotel rooms, where you pick up the phone. I mean, in your home now, I use my remote to tell the TV what to play, or you can even use your remote to turn off your light, all these other things. And this is where we're headed to. In the industry, we use it to check in people when they get into the rooms. They don't want to be touching. And these were some of the things that helped with COVID. You don't have to touch, devices just to be able to get done what you need to get done. Now we also have some cleaning robots that clean the rooms. And Sheena, I have to tell you, one day I was on the floor at a client's site doing a site tour for another major client of them, and there was a housekeeper that had left the cart in the middle of the row in the hallway. So I was trying to move the cart just so we could walk by. Do you know that stuff weighed over 300 pounds? My goodness. And this lady was just as petite as myself. So after the site, I went back to the floor and I asked her, I said, how do you push these things? They're pretty heavy, very heavy. And I know we could talk about, how AI is going to wipe out certain jobs and everything, but I don't know about you, but pulling that 300-400 pound of pot every day, that's work. Cleaning hotel rooms is not the easiest job. And I told myself, wow, they should be the highest paid people in the industry. You're cleaning up after people's messes, the exposure that they have to chemicals, to infection robots that actually can clean. Some of these robots are even being used as concierge services, picking up the luggage. When you travel, you already have 500 pounds of luggage, don't you? Uh-huh. Yeah, we see you all when you're traveling at the airport and stuff. And you should see the international international departure area as Africans. Somebody has, like, 10 suitcases, 50 pounds each. Just imagine. Just imagine. So now they check into these hotels, or they get to the belt, and then we have robots that can lift them up without people breaking their backs. And that's technology for you. I think it's awesome. Some of the robots even deliver food to the rooms, like room services. And if you need something, they will send it up. And helping people just really make the job a little easier, right? And then you have contactless payment. These are all part of technology stuff that our hotels are implementing now. Contactless payment, you don't have to pull up your cards and everything. It used to be that you swipe the cards, and then there's, all kinds of stuff that is collected, and people hack into this and that, and they take all your information. Now all you have to do is show your phone. You can hit your phone with your Apple Wallet, I this, I that. There's so many ways to pay now. There's the other part which I really love, the VR technology, right? The virtual reality. It is awesome. It is awesome. And I'm happy to see that Apple actually is coming up with, they've already developed one that will come up soon. Just last month, I went to see an immersive event in DC, and we had to wear the VR. And I was thinking to myself, how cool it would be to have one in your home. I need to get that. I'm definitely going to be one of those who'll be wearing that stuff around my home. But virtual technology reality, virtual reality technology is one of the best things that happen to us in the industry, because we're able to give people the experience before they even get there. We can do a virtual tour. Almost every hotel that I know is investing into that feature. People want to see the rooms. They want to be able to act like little gamers, the way you do the games on the apps, to be able to move into the room, see how it is. I've even bought stuff on, I believe, Amazon, that it would say, see how it looks like in your room. So I had to move around with the phone just so that to place the item to see, this is marketing, this is technology for you. And this is what we're using that for. And then, for places like, look at the time difference, right? You're 5 hours ahead of me. It's almost dawn over here. I call it dawn because I'm not a morning person, but it's like 6 a.m. here. Imagine if I wanted to search on something at a hotel I'm going to be staying at in Nigeria. I could just use the AI chatbot. It's just a simple question. I don't have to pick up a phone every time to call people. With all these technology, now you're able to have customer service, 24-hour customer service. And I was talking to a client who worked in the wireless communication industry. And I asked them a very important question. I said, West Africa, Nigeria, and Ghana, we speak very great English. Yes, we speak great English. And I wonder how many phone companies, these major customer service companies, like, why don't you set up your shops? Is it the distance? Is it that they couldn't really give me a good answer? But this is an area that we are lacking. See, these people are traveling all the way to India to set up shops over there, right? You call customer service, the person is telling them, I'm speaking from India. And I'm thinking from here to India and from here to Ghana and the West in Nigeria. Isn't that even shorter? So we have a huge gap. And imagine how, that even if it's $8 an hour, $7 an hour. Imagine how much impact that will make for a million. What I call the Internet of Things, IoT, right? You technology people know that as well. And the internet-based connectivity between everyday devices. So there are times I will go for a walk and I don't need to hold my phone, but I want to be able to communicate or do certain things on my watch that it will send the signal to my phone. And this is the kind of thing we've become now. Why do I have an Apple Watch and still have to carry a phone when I need to jog? I should still be able to respond to my email. When I get back to my MacBook, I should be able to pick up from where I left off on the road. And this is where we have gotten to as people. There is also that facial recognition technology. We call recognition technology, or through the door or order stuff on the TV with facial recognition, just the same features that you have with your Face ID and other things on your phone. Very important. And I'd like to, one more that I want to share, actually two more. Big data, big data. I know data can be very overwhelming. So data, it can be very overwhelming for people. But for us in this industry, it is major, it is key. We use data to analyze business performance. How are we doing as a business? So I noticed that in my dealings with a lot of my people from where we come from, we are very good at giving information and other things, but where we were lacking is gathering the data, keeping the data, as well as using that data to make business decisions, to make other decisions. When I hear people, I want to build a hotel, I'm like, what for? I ask them that question just to throw them off and throw them off balance to see what they are thinking. Oh, this and that, and they still can give me some good data analytics, right? As to why they think that putting that hotel in that location is a good idea, or it's going to be as profitable for them, their investors, and the banks. And this is where big data comes in. Historical rate, we're able to use it to change rate. Now with technology, I don't need to find out what my competitor is doing. It's just pulling stuff from database. I could tell what business is going to them, and I could strategize how to take their business. It's that easy now with big data. And I want to wrap up with the on this section of technology insight with cybersecurity. So I have to say that we have garnered a pretty bad name, both Ghana and Nigeria, with all these cyber crimes that's going on. We haven't done a great job in securing that area. And so we have a lot of work to do. For any business out there, I would say any viable business out there, you have to have security measures. Listen, my website is just really for information only. And my IT guy cannot tell you how many times people try to hack it. So I'm like, okay, it's really just informational website. It's not something that I collect people's data or anything, no. But even that, how many people are trying to put all these ransomware stuff, and I've actually been a victim. I've had my accounts hacked, my social media accounts taken over, and all kinds of stuff. So now more than ever, I'm very conscious of that. But as a business, you cannot take those kind of risks. You have to. So just a quick wrap up, Sheena, before we get back to you. On the technology side, investing in AI, very good. Through AI, you're going to have your voice searches, voice control devices. We now have some robots that are cleaning contactless payment, virtual reality, Zaria is, or Port Harcourt and all that kind of stuff. But if they can actually put on the VR and be able to get there, they can have like a virtual tour of the place. It excites them. It excites them to get there. And then you have to look at the AI chatbots as well, the Internet of Things, just making sure everything is interconnected in their rooms for them, even at the airports, wherever they are. And then facial or recognition technology, very, very powerful. And then the big one, the big data, analytics, we call it analytics. Some people actually buy these things, right? We have all these telemarketers that they might be annoying, but they're doing a great, I think they are very effective and efficient at their job. When people get angry with telemarketers, I said, no, you guys are very, very efficient at your job, at what you do. And then cybersecurity, very, very important for us to invest into. Sheena, got to call your time. Thank you. And I think, I guess everybody's up here now in the USA now. So it is Coast. So it looks like our systems is getting jammed. And just an FYI, since COVID, even the internet companies are having a hard time with the load that they have to take on. So bear with us if the line keeps going in and out here. So to your question, one of the things that we have here in the US, there are very, very tough laws and regulations. So it's not like an airline can just get up and do whatever they want to do, change prices, do everything. The issue we have in Africa is lack of control. We don't have a lot of control in terms of how we do our things, right? Sometimes the government controls what they can control. But when it comes to certain areas like travel and tourism, we don't have this, but these are the policy people that actually have to come up with certain policies and break down tourism into your airlines, your hotels, and then your destination or your attraction places. What are the policies that we can use to govern these things in terms of infrastructure, making sure it's up to par? You can't just put up any building and call it a guest house, right? You can't create anything, but there has to be rules and licensure. It's very good. We don't go through the Africa. You could pay your way through things. You could pay your way through things, not have the right thing that can really impact people. It's not like that, Ron, and it's not up to par. That you are not opening. They don't care. They don't care how much you've invested, 10, 100 million. It's none of their business. You have to pass all these regulations, all these safety measures, everything before you even get the license to operate. And that's some of the things that the policymakers have to really look into that. The other thing we also have to look at is in terms of employment and job creation, how can we regulate? Because I'll tell you, here in Washington, D.C., you have certain laws that guide, hotel housekeepers, you have hotel staff, hotel this, tourist attraction, you can pay them a certain amount, minimum wage and all these kinds of things. We have to start implementing those. It will help us to be very standardized. We also have to look into our trade-off and partnerships. And when I mean by partnerships, let's say you have hotel chains, for instance, right? I work mostly in the hotel industry, so I have some great knowledge there. If they're coming into Africa, are they compromising on the same services and things that they're providing here? Or just because it's Africa, people can come in and just do whatever they want to do, right? It starts with a lot of integrity. I remember restaurant association, right? Hotel association, car rental association. These are very helpful. The government cannot do everything for us, but if we as a community, as a travel community or tourism community come in, then everybody can bring their advice, their intel, their knowledge to say, let's establish these guidelines to help us. So it really takes the government, it also takes the private sector, and then the person, individuals actually operating businesses as well. Could you please? Actually, I can see them here now. Okay. Because how then do you think technology can help in promoting or helping? Okay, I think I answered that question because he asked it very early. And then disability inclusion, many people go on TripAdvisor, want to check times. Most of them, he was commenting on my stuff. And the other question that he asked, how they can use technology, which I've sort of went through that. I think that was before I talked about the technology questions. Unless you have other ones that I haven't seen.
Is called Otumba Michael and I would, when we're talking about uh, the technology recommendations, there were quite a huge amount of them. It's like you also admitted, it's quite big and overwhelming. So for players in the Nigerian travel and tourism space, if they need to start addressing the technology imperatives for unlocking the potentials of travel and tourism in Nigeria, what would you recommend as some of the key priority areas? Technology is big, it happens every
Very.
day, it's difficult to catch up. But how do operators in the Nigerian travel and tourism space start and begin to accord priority to some of the key technology enablers that will quickly assist them in recapture?
Okay. And I think there are two key things that would be very, very effective for them now. I know that they are not just marketing to the local people to visit. The technology that they can apply is really web development. They have to invest in their marketing on the web of all things, web, social media, and virtual reality. It's hard to do all the others, but before you can even get get to do all the others, you have to have a way to get the people to see what you have to offer. So I will first invest in that. Um, how do people see you? How do they find you? Can they even find you? If I go online right now to search for things to do in Nigeria, would you come up? These are the things that you have to think of first. And how do I get people to come to use me? So they should invest one in the web of all things, in searches, meta, we call them SC, search engine optimizations, geotagging, all these meta searches and other stuff. Very, very key. People have to find you to be able to even buy your business or buy the things and the services you're selling. Without that, you really cannot function. And then also part of that would be a huge investment into the VR technology, giving people the experiences. I was briefly on a project for a museum that was going to open in Ghana, and I like where one of the things that they were curating first to even before they even opened the museum was VR technology, having that virtual experience. And that is key because that was a way to really ignite excitement in people. So if I don't have a plane ticket of before I invest into that $7,000, $10,000 trip to Nigeria, can I have an experience of what it would really look like? So I'll start from those two areas.
Thank you very much for setting the priority local transport industry. Are there some final thoughts that you may want to share with us?
Yeah,
Sessions.
thank you. Thank you so much. So I want to say that we have the best to offer the world as Africans, especially Nigeria, especially Ghana, West Africa as a whole. There is a lot to offer the world. And it really starts with us. We have to do a very great job in terms of marketing ourselves to the world. When I did a paper in a graduate program that I was doing at University of Maryland years ago, and my first paper I was supposed to write was a brand called me. And I'm like, this professor, what's wrong with them? Right? I said, a brand called me. It was supposed to be a paper, an actual paper I was supposed to write about. So in this paper, you're supposed to make yourself a brand. And then I went to the professor and I said, that's kind of hard to do. And then he said, well, that's the problem. You are a brand. Everybody is a brand. And how do you market yourself and package yourself for the world to see you? So there's a brand called Africa, there's a brand called Nigeria, right? Now, how do we make that brand accessible to everybody? How do we make that brand marketable to attract the right people? It's all great that we have oil, we have this, we have all this stuff, but not everybody can get into the oil business. And travel and tourism is that area where the ordinary person can become somebody, right? It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot. It can literally create substantial workforce for any country if we develop it right. So I would ask that we do a better job. We do a much better job promoting Africa, promoting Nigeria, promoting the richness of our culture, our heritage, wherever we are. And I'm so excited for this opportunity, Sheena. And I look forward to some more conversations. And this is us coming back home. This is us coming back home. I don't want Africa to lose its best talents to the world, but we have to create that environment and the space where the people that left home to seek extra knowledge can bring that knowledge back home. So thank you. Are you there?
Thank you for
Thank
those
you.
very touching reports about the need for African talent in diaspora to begin to bring back the knowledge, the skill, and the competencies that they've acquired across the world back home for us to connect, join forces in unlocking potentials Africa and the huge markets, whether the market for tech. I like the fact that you brought to bear the fact that Nigeria, Ghana offers a great destination for call center services. Some of those things that we want, there is still opportunity for more to them. I also like the rich depth of business and technology insights that you brought in. We would, in the not too distant future, be playing Bondah Tuesday. We will be inviting, and we might possibly invite you physically to Lagos to join us for that knowledge share and all of that. We want to thank you very much, Abena, for enriching the audience across Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. We also want to thank the attendees for showing up today. The recorded link to, the recording of this live session will also be available immediately after this session. And I have no doubt that we will all continuously and continually be enriched by the times that have been shared with us today. Thank you very much, and have a great day as we bring the live session with Abena to a final report. Abena, thank you very much. Have a great day today, and God bless.
Thank you, Sheena. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.